Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Bylines. Tim Benz and Joe Starkey here at Trib Live. It is the most incrinculant live stream on the internet. It's good to have Joe Starkey back at the Trib. The prodigal columnist has returned home. Starkey and I reunited, and it feels so good. And when I say that, Joe, reunited after what? Did we work together for about 6 weeks at 12:50 before I left for iHeart after you got there?
Oh my God, I forgot that we ever worked together. I thought this was our first pairing here. 1250. That station did exist. Did we ever go on the air together?
I don't think we did. I don't even know if you were officially hired yet, to be honest. I think
No, I did like a 45-minute Saturday morning show.
Yes,
if that.
exactly.
Include commercials, it was like 20 minutes.
Yeah, that was way back when we were both in Wilkinsburg, and ever since then, you've either been there and I've been at iHeart, or you were at 93.7 and I was at iHeart, or I was in Boston and you were at the Post-Gazette, or whatever the case may be. But we're very happy to have you back at the Trib, Morty. Are you happy to be home?
Man, am I happy to be home. Yes, I've written like 93 columns in the first
I've noticed
week.
that.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm stepping on everybody's toes. I just figure I'll write you and Madden. If you get mad, just, fire me an email or a text and tell me to stop.
I know how this is going to go. You're going to write yourself silly for the first 7 weeks or so, and then you'll be like, I'm tired. Why am I doing this?
No way, man. I like this Cup of Joe column because it's only 300 words. I can write it just like, in seconds sometimes.
Are you limiting yourself, or are we limiting you?
Not that I'm not working hard, by the way. I think to be able to do that sometimes takes more work than going on for 800 words. It's a very refined skill. I forgot you were in Boston. That totally.
Yeah, I almost did too.
Slipped my. How long were you there?
I was there like 15 whole months. I was about 18 months through a 3-year contract when I decided to come back.
So were you walking into Patriots locker rooms and Bruins and Red Sox? Would you go to Fenway Park and work?
Yeah, I did. I was probably at Fenway more than I was anywhere else. I went to a handful of Bruins games, handful of Celtics games, and I'd go up there for Patriots games. About half of them, I guess. There's a little bit more of an effort to get to Foxborough than it is for me. I can look out my window and see Acrisure Stadium right now. So,
well, you must have seen Brady when he looked older. He continues to look younger every single year, and there's something very strange about that.
Well, this is the anniversary. Well, not the anniversary. It's actually the anniversary. It's close to it. It's that season. I guess it is the anniversary because it was the Malcolm Butler play. That's the year I was in Boston when it was also a blizzard on Super Bowl Sunday. And I had to walk to the radio station the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday when Malcolm Butler made the play, walking uphill in Brighton, Massachusetts. Some guy recognized me and picked me up on the side of the road to drive me the rest of the way to get to my radio show, which is your shift, 10 to 2. I left at like 8 o'clock in the morning because I had to walk there because I couldn't get my car to the radio station. That's how bad the snowstorm was that Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, wait a second. I was going to ask you if you were at the Super Bowl and if you were also on the field for that iconic play like you were for Santonio Holmes.
No,
I still look at that. I look at that video or the photo. How close were you to the actual football? Was there any chance that you could have ruined the play, especially if they were focused on finishing the catch? Like, what if he hadn't finished the catch and he accidentally ran into you and you ruined the Super Bowl for Steelers fans?
Well, the finishing the catch part wasn't on the books yet. I mean, he toe tapped and fell and hit the ground and didn't hit me. So I guess I was far enough away. But if the ball had glanced off his fingers and ricocheted, I was probably the next set of human hands.
What a story that would have been.
It's quite the photo of the old arena that you got there in the background, Joe.
Used to be my office. I was me, and then it was Dave Molinari not talking to me, Jaromir Jagr not talking to me, Penguins PR not talking to me, yet somehow I found a way to cover the team. It was a miracle.
Did you see The Athletic came out with a list of the best arenas in the National Hockey League?
No.
And yeah, The Athletic came out with a list, and PPG Paints Arena, I think, was like 24th. And like the big thing that was cited where they were bottom of the league is the area around the arena and people complaining that it never got developed after the arena was built, which is accurate. Now, everybody else was complaining about the prices, but I don't know what professional sports place you go to, what professional sports league you go to when you walk into an arena and say, hey, $10 for a pretzel. That's a good deal. Like, no one's ever walked into any sports arena and said, that's a great price for a beer. It's never happened. So I don't put that on like PPG Paints Arena.
No.
The area around the arena, I get it.
Well, here's the thing. I used to do my stories in the balcony of this place, as you did, and it would literally rain on my computer by the end of it. There were, right. I swear to God,
yes,
there were drops coming down from the ceiling. So it needed, obviously, we needed a new arena.
Right.
However, that place could never be replaced. That place, look at it. It's legendary, really, in the history of American sports. It was very, very unique and had a certain feel and certain acoustics, and was just, it was legendary. And the new place is fine, but that's about all I can say about it, right? There's nothing really that sets it apart.
Well,
from
no one
anywhere
used
else.
this word, but I think the word that people talk around and don't quite say directly is it's antiseptic. It's homogenized.
Yeah. Yes. You just said everything I said in one word.
You know, it's basically like a lot of other arenas. I was trying to do my own rankings myself when I saw it. I'm like, well, how do I distinguish any of these? You know, like I'll give you this. I've been to the building that you went to a lot as a kid. The Odd was very similar to Mellon Arena. I remember like it was so steep. That's the only time I thought I was going to fall down and like fall onto the ice rink or something like that. That's how steep it was at the Odd, but the sound was the same. The acoustics were the same because of that.
It's all different. And I don't know, in the NHL, I'm trying to think. Madison Square Garden, you've been there, right? It's just,
yeah, well, actually, I've never been there for a hockey game, but I've been there a million times for other events.
I was there for Gretzky's last game. And again, Molinari just stayed in the basement for that. He never came up to the press box to view it from where it was actually happening. It was Wayne Gretzky's last game. But that's the best arena left, I think, in the NHL. But having said that, I just have a fondness for old, whether it's basketball gyms or arenas. I like to have some nostalgia. You're distilling everything I say this morning into one word, and I appreciate that. You really are.
No, what I could do is I could be like Limits, and I could go the other way and just talk myself into a circle, like Broderick Jones in the washing machine yesterday.
No, don't do that. What
did he say? Broderick Jones went into the washing machine and came out smelling like a peach.
I don't know what he said. He was mixing metaphors like Heinz Ward.
Hats to the defense.
Yes.
Defense.
Are we talking Steelers or what?
Yeah, let's get to that.
Today?
Let's actually get to our main topic. We've had a 6 or 7 minute intro, so this show is just like your show. It's about 7 or 8 minutes till we get to the actual point. Let's get to the main point of the show today, and that is upon further review. It's the big topic of the week that was Joe and I are going to be here every Friday at 8 o'clock to 8:30. That's going to be during the football offseason. When we get to Steelers season, Joe and I are going to do a live stream pregame show. And then DeCourcy's going to come back and we're going to do the Friday football show here, which we really like doing, even though Joe and Mike are in a 2-year war over college basketball writers.
Of all the people to get into like a media feud with, he's the nicest man in America. This reminds me of when I almost got in a fight with Antoine Randall in the locker room. And I was also the only person who ever made Jerry DePaula swear. It's definitely my problem here. So I'd like to, is there any way you can help foster sort of a breaking of the bread with myself and DeCourcy?
I think I can. We can put 3 boxes on here. The 3 of us can do the show together if you want.
One of these weeks we should. This is ridiculous.
Well, since you called all college basketball writers suck-ups, maybe we can do a NCAA bracket madness or something like that.
Not all, just some. I said you find more in that realm of sports than anywhere else. But now if he's listening, he's going to get doubly mad. Let's move on.
Because I reminded you of him. All right, so upon further review, the big topic of the week, or the big topic of the night before, that's usually where Joe and I are going to start after 10 minutes of rambling in a half-hour show. Obviously, it's the McCarthy hire. And I'll get your thoughts on him replacing Tomlin, sort of big picture in a second, Joe. I do have to vent a little bit. Did he build his coaching staff by going to a group text? I mean, like, Every single person is somebody that he coached with in Green Bay or Dallas. Like, we used to crush Tomlin for this. But because a lot of these guys have ties to him or have Pittsburgh ties, that's another part of this. It seems to be like, it's okay. It's Mike McCarthy. He's got his buddies, and he's bringing the band back together again. And part of the big deal is to coax Aaron Rodgers back, which is another thing I'm not wild about. How about you?
Well, first, let's review. Who are we talking about here? We're talking about James Campen, the offensive line coach, correct?
Right.
Scott Tolzien interviewing for offensive coordinator, another guy who I think played under McCarthy. And did he work under him too?
Yep.
And then we're talking about Patrick Graham, who I guess is the likely defensive coordinator. They only cross paths for 1 year.
And then who Wells is another one that if Tolzien doesn't get the job, that Simmons. Running backs coach is off of his tree. The wide receivers coach is off of his tree. Even Tom Arth, who's sticking around, was his quarterback for 1 year. Well, the 1 year that Arth was there was McCarthy's first year. And the inside linebackers coach, the Steelers, has been on his, I think, every staff he's ever had.
Well, let me push back a little bit. Don't most guys go with people who are familiar to them, people from their pasts? Like, let's take Campen. He was a very successful offensive line coach under McCarthy. Like, I don't know if that's another draw-in for Rodgers. I saw somebody posting last night that Rodgers absolutely loves this guy.
Yeah, Schefter found an Instagram post from 2021 where Rodgers was just gushing about this guy.
Right. So I agree with you on Rodgers. I think the ceiling there is a first-round blowout playoff loss, which, by the way, the last time we saw McCarthy, he was enduring one of those as an 8-point favorite against the Packers. But the other piece, I'm not sure I can crush him for going with guys that he's familiar with. Don't most guys do that?
Well, okay, they do. But then at the same time, weren't we clobbering Tomlin for that anytime he brought somebody in? Oh, this is just another one of his cronies. We use the word cronies a lot.
He brought in Randy Fichtner, who had never been an offensive coordinator in the NFL, right?
Well, neither's Tolzien. Neither's Lunda Wells.
Okay, but Campen has been an offensive line coach.
Yes.
Patrick Graham has been a defensive coordinator. We could argue about how good of one.
In Vegas, yeah.
But then the other guys, I mean, Fichtner already was an older man by the time he came here. Tolzien is a younger guy. So I'm not sure I'm of a mind to crush him for that, really. We can agree to disagree. We're not going to wind up like me and DeCourcy right off the bat.
No, I don't. I think it's more how is McCarthy going to be covered and talked about as opposed to how Tomlin was covered and talked about by the end when they are so similar in their resumes and their shortcomings of late. This is one thing that's very consistent with a complaint about Tomlin that we're not already applying to McCarthy. And I think that's something that will quickly change if he starts out 0-4. Let me put it to you that way.
I know, but here's another thing. McCarthy is already getting crushed in a way Tomlin did not when he was hired. I mean, I don't know about your avenues of media, what you've experienced. Oh, my God. From the minute he got hired, the vibe, the feedback has been overwhelmingly negative, which I don't necessarily blame people for. And even when he was crying and stuff at the news conference, I was listening to Pony and those guys afterward, and people were just crushing him.
What, for crying?
But just for everything. Yes, for that and everything else. And so.
Well, I actually thought that was genuine. I bought
so
all
did
that from him. I thought that was real emotion, and that was nice and everything.
Too.
And I do think it softened the mood, and I do think it brought people under the tent to at least give it a try. But again, that's only going to last so long as his first bad patch. He's not even going to have the latitude that Cowher would have had if he started slowly. It just so happens that Cowher won his first game with a trick punt and, went off to 11-5 in his first season and won a division and got to a division title for the first time since, Jesus, I don't even remember. They were a wild card the last two times Noel's team since 1979. It was the last time they'd won a division.
Well, I think you just answered your first question then. People are not going to have any patience for Mike McCarthy. And just because he's a Pittsburgh guy, sometimes like every town, we eat our own, so to speak. You know, he may be under more scrutiny. It's not like Bill Cowher didn't get crushed in this.
It took a while, but those three losing seasons in a row, he was on the ropes, man. If they didn't get the new stadium and Cordell didn't have that bounce back season in 01, he would have gotten run out of town.
Yeah, and this guy's on notice from day one because people are so furious with Art. That's why people are so furious, and they see this as an extension of Tomlin and just basically the Steelers running in place. Like you just replaced a guy who couldn't win in the playoffs with a guy who can't win in the playoffs. So I think, like you just said, he's from game one, it's going to be either we love this guy or we hate him, as a coach, not as a person, from the opening kickoff, because the mandate here is very clearly win right away and get us further than Tomlin did, or we're going to be, can I say pissed on this show?
You can.
Or we're going to be pissed at Art still and always and continuously. Now, if he wins a couple games, and especially if Will Howard is the quarterback, for God's sakes, it's going to be Mardi Gras around here.
Mr. Wire says Mike 2.0, he was fired twice. Yeah, I think him being fired in Dallas isn't necessarily an indictment because that's Jerry Jones, and that's kind of how things operate there. But I do worry about this being very much a recreation of what we saw from Tomlin at the end. Got an email as well. Let's go two down here, Chris. Michael says, I thought hiring McCarthy was a terrible move. The team needs a major reset, and Patrick Graham, yikes. So the spin on Patrick Graham is this, I'll give it to you, that he wasn't running his own defense, that it was Pete Carroll's defense he was trying to run, and that when they were running his own defense, they were actually better. So you're going to hear a lot of that. I also heard Mike McCarthy go off about the values of the 3-4 defense and how much he loves the 3-4 and was speaking about it like it was still 1992 again. Speaking of nostalgia, Joe, I had pictures of the Blast Furnace Blitzburg T-shirts and the Quiver and Quake T-shirts that were being sold in the Strip District. It ain't those days anymore. Like, it's awful hard for two edge rushers to dominate a football game like Green and Lloyd did in 1994. You need more push up the middle. You got to prevent the escape alleys from the quarterbacks. It takes a long time to rush off the edge, even if you're good at it like those two are. You need some more pressure up the middle than just one guy and 37-year-old Cam Hayward. This is not the 3-4 that Dom Capers brought in like McCarthy was romanticizing about. It's morphed. It's changed. It's had to. I'm not of the mind that you have to keep the old bones of the Steelers defense just because it's tradition in that. And I wonder if the whole Pittsburgh thing is seeping into his brain in that regard.
Good question. I mean, the 3-4 and the 4-3, does it matter that much anymore?
It's sort of like an out because you're never in base anyway.
Yeah. What percentage of the game are you in sub-package football? And if you can play, like, let's take Derek Harmon. Would a 3-4 team and a 4-3 team, in quotes, both be inclined to draft him as high as he was? I'd say yes.
Yes.
Look at Javon Hargrave. Went from a 3-4 to a 4-3. He was pretty good, maybe better in the 4-3, but in both systems. There were times last year where they had two down linemen and bunches of linebackers and defensive. You know, it's so much of it is not in base defense. So I think that's overblown. Does it appear like I'm doing the whole show with my eyes closed? I'm looking down at the camera. Does it look like I have my eyes closed for the whole show?
No, your eyes are open. It's just the camera is looking up at you.
Okay.
Like if you have like maybe a higher table or something.
This? Wait.
Well, yeah, but then your arms are going to get tired and you're going to cramp.
Forget it. I'm just going to do it like this. If it appears that my eyes are closed for the whole show, we'll live with it.
Let me get one more email in here. Charlie says, I agree. They should have looked into the Rams coaches more. McCarthy is an pick, but the benefit of him being older is that he would not be around as long as the other three. Change is needed at times. Gosh, that sounds awful damning. Like, you don't mean he's going to die on the job, do you? I mean, like, well, you know, actually, like part of the thinking, and I wrote a little bit about this today in my football footnotes, is there was a school of thought that he comes in, they hire Nate Scheelhaus to be his offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And then Scheelhaus just takes over. Well, I guess you could apply that same mindset to Wells or Tolzien if you want to, but Shieldhouse was never going to leave a position where he wasn't getting a head coaching job because he wasn't calling plays to go to another place with a worse offense where he wasn't calling plays. Like, that was just never going to happen.
I know, but it was a chance to I was going to say apprentice under McCarthy. He is Sean McVay. Now, with the Pittsburgh theme here, would the name Shieldhouse have scored him points with Mike McCarthy? Would Shieldhouse have fit in the theme here? It seems to be a total Pittsburgh Yinzer staff.
Oh, yeah, because he would just shorten his name then and just call him Haas. You know, like when he was referring, Haas made a great call here, or Haas came up with a great play design here.
Have you heard, you must have the other day heard McCarthy drop a Will Hard.
Yeah. Like, he really ramped it up on that one. Like, he leaned into that one.
He did.
Steered into the skid.
He did. It was almost like Brian Kelly when he went to LSU, except that McCarthy is fluent in Yinzer, right?
Yeah, he pulled it off. Right. He just knew when to ramp it up. You know, with the black and gold tie and all that. Yeah.
No doubt.
Giving his home address on the internet for millions of people to hear. Yeah, I'll say to you what I said in print the other day, Joe. Like, you know, it's great that he wants the Super Bowl parade to start at his home. I'm just wondering if February 1 year from now, the snow is going to be plowed up in Greenfield, because I know it's not here on the north side.
My God, I was downtown 2 days ago. I forgot because my neighborhood is plowed. There was nothing plowed.
Getting to the arena last night was a disaster, not just because of the big accident on the Parkway, which was tragic, but, getting through downtown, everything's one lane because the snowbanks are so big. So, like, if you're going up, you can't go up 6th anymore because it's a bus lane. You have to go up 9th, and everything is one lane, so it was compressed. The buses couldn't turn. It was crazy. But, hey, speaking of the Penguins, let's do that real quick before we get to other things. They won again last night. It was funny talking to Dan Muse in the postgame. Somebody asked him about Connor Dewar, who already has a career high in goals. He scored 2 more last night. You talked about Dewar, and then at the end he goes, I'm not surprised. And then he was talking about, I think it was Mantha's puck distribution, all the assists that he's gotten and everything else. Goes through this big, long thing, and he goes, I'm not surprised. So when I got the microphone, I said, has any of this surprised you? Are you surprised by anybody? Connor Dewar, a career high. Assist man, Anthony Mantha. 3 goals from Ryan Shea. Justin Brazeau with 11 or 12 or whatever he's got. What Ben Kindle's done as a rookie. Chinikov coming over here looking like an all-star. Like, has any individual surprised you? And he's like, no. Well, they should. I'll be surprised on his behalf then. How about that? I'm surprised.
I'm floored by it because now they're morphing into, listen, it's one thing to have like a workman-like team like the Capitals have had under Carberry. I get it. We're going to play a defensive system. We're going to be very workman-like. We'll take advantage of our stars. We'll have a good team. I'm surprised they do have a good team. Don't get me wrong. They've now morphed into workman-like plus the Globetrotters. Like every game last night being a prime example, there's highlight reel goals left and right. Chinikov, Mantha, Novak a couple games ago. These aren't normal goals. They're like goal scorer, highlight reel, ESPN top 10 goals by guys that half the fans had never heard of or maybe had heard their name once or twice before this season. I'm floored by the whole thing. And man, are they fun to watch. They're the best show in town by far.
Tuna Town says, is Malkin better than Crosby this year? Check the plus minus. Well, plus minus means very little in my calculation about how good a player is. But, I mean, if you're talking about Malkin versus Malkin, I think the question is he's better on the wing. Right now he is. And, yeah, that was a great pass to set up Chinikov. Of all the guys that have been brought in that are surprises, it's not necessarily a surprise because this guy's the most talented. I'll say the most important guy has been Chinikov.
Wow. I mean, this is I'm trying to think.
He's got the most talent. Like, that's the most. I think he can reap the most.
I'm trying to think back to Gino's line mates, and quite frankly, a lot of them haven't been great over the years since Neil. That was my point. Somebody with this quick of a trigger and this good of a shot, I don't think there's any doubt. This is the guy. This is looking like a genius move by Kyle Dubas. Of course, everything Dubas does these days looks like a genius move, right?
All right, let's get to a couple of things here, Joe, before we wrap up, because you got to get
Wait,
out of here. We're going to
Tim,
go to, yeah.
sorry to interrupt. I want to include in this Pitt going to Tarps at the stadium. Please proceed.
Okay, is this going to be your Trib treats?
That might be a treat.
All right,
Do I
here's your
get a
Trib
treat
treat.
at the end?
Pitt going, yeah, because we only got 5 minutes left. I don't want to make you late for your real show after this show.
All right. Do we have a hard deadline?
We do not have a hard deadline. It's your deadline to get through the Squirrel Hill Tunnel.
I'm so happy here. We could go an extra 5 minutes.
Okay, I can go an extra 5 minutes. My Trib treat is going to be this. Since we're on the topic of hockey, can you imagine going out to Beaver Stadium and sitting outside for a hockey game, perhaps not once, but twice this weekend? They've got two outdoor hockey games. The women's game is free this afternoon against Robert Morris at Beaver Stadium. And tomorrow they are playing Michigan State in the afternoon after they play. That's a big game. That's like number 2 versus number 5 in the country right now, outdoors at Beaver Stadium. Here's your forecast. 13 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds, feels like temperature of 1 degree. Like, I remember how cold it was in Buffalo for the original outdoor game, the Snow Globe game where Crosby scored on the shootout.
Yeah.
It was not that cold. And this is going to be brutal out there.
Well, I commend very good Trib treat, and I commend everybody for going out there. This is what you're supposed to do, even in hockey, is play outdoors. Yet you have all these cowards in football in the NFL who want to play indoors, and they're all complaining about the Patriots-Broncos game. I couldn't see the field. The quality of play went down. Get the hell out of here. It was meant to be played outdoors in the NFL, and I commend everybody who's going to these games, including my stepson, Michael, and my de facto son, Limits, and I'm going to introduce those two guys when they get to Beaver Stadium. I think it's going to be fabulous. Yeah. Of course, I'm not going to be there, but I'll introduce them by text.
Are you claiming Limits is your stepson?
In a way, he is, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
I guess he is kind of.
My de facto son.
De facto son, yeah.
Yeah.
As a former producer, I want to get Limits back on one thing. Whenever you screw up or something goes wrong and I hear, Limits! Like, I have like these hot flashes. When I used to produce in Utah, when I was working in Salt Lake City, used to blame me for stuff that went wrong that they did. Like when you lose your read sheet or when you go over the clock or you don't know when a guest is on. Limits, why didn't you tell me?
I know. Well, here's why, and you know why I do it, because I'm panicked in that moment and I need somebody to blame, and I don't know what to say. So rather than silence, I lambast him.
Yes, that's actually a good go-to move. Now that you say it that way, now you bracket it that way. What is your Trib treat? It's the Tarps at Acrisure Stadium.
I didn't even know that this was how Trib treats was going. I didn't know it was like a show-ending take.
Our show-ending take is going to be our Friday free-for-all. So hopefully you have some contribution there as well.
All right. Well, let me deliver a treat in the nicest way possible. Listen, I get it. Not enough people go to the Pitt games. You have to put tarps up. But the way that Alan Green characterized it and painted it was like, this is going to be, Seattle Seahawks football. This is going to be Cameron Indoor. The place is going to be absolutely electric because everybody's moving to the lower bowl. Listen, any way you slice it, it's going to be a cavernous stadium with tons of empty seats and a tarp above the people there. It's going to look horrible on TV. And it's just it's underscoring the problem there. So let's not pretend that suddenly we have an electric atmosphere at Pitt. They should. I don't want to get into the whole on-campus stadium, but they should have an on-campus stadium. Somebody should have thought of that when they raised Pitt Stadium. I mean, this doesn't work. This didn't work. This has never worked. This will never work. It's just sad to me.
Well, just wait till it's the Pitt Dome, and you can really go crazy on two different accounts. When it's off campus and it's a dome.
Let me ask you two things. One, it's a pipe dream, I know. But wouldn't you want a stadium on campus that was about 35,000 people where you could get the atmosphere that Alan Green is talking about?
Oh, sure. It sounds like a great idea and concept. Yeah.
And two,
Remember Ben talked about this on his podcast a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Remember, like, okay, Ben, you can fund it then. Like, remember, he kind of phrased it like, just snap your fingers and make it happen. And hey, there's a big stadium in Panther Hollow now.
Could they have built this, Tim, at the top of the hill where the softball and baseball stadiums are? Is there enough room? Would there have been enough room?
You mean like where the Victory Heights stuff is?
No, further up the hill,
Oh.
past Fitzgerald Fieldhouse.
Well, I mean, I guess they could have if they had the money and the foresight at the time, but they kind of thought that it was a sweetheart deal to move in with the Steelers in the way that it was being, and then, we got to go back to the whole Plan B thing and how that stadium got built in the first place. But for them, it was a good deal at the time.
Yeah. Maybe they could do it like Madison Square Garden, have different levels and just build the stadium on top of the peak.
I like this idea from Dave, who says you can paint people on the tarps, kind of like COVID. Remember when they
COVID, yeah.
had people in the background, like somebody brought a dog to a Marlins game.
or like we do in the studio, we have a cardboard cutout of Pompiani.
Yes.
Tons of famous people on these cardboard cutouts.
Jerry DePaula could be the first person painted on the tarp.
Right. Or just have like 20,000 Jerry DePaula cutouts.
Jerry DePaula could sit next to Walt.
That is going to be, I don't know. Is this going to be better or worse, Tim?
They'll be made fun of. I know that. Like, hey, look, Florida State went smaller. Syracuse went smaller, but they did that in redesign eras. Like, they made the seats bigger in Doe Campbell Stadium. They made the runways bigger. They made the concourses bigger. There's a massive renovation to the Carrier Dome, now the JMA Dome, and they took out the benches and they made them seats. So like the capacity shrunk, but those were all, renovations to the actual facility, to the structure. So it's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
Let's get to our Friday. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The other solution would be to win more and be a high profile program. And then it kind of takes care of itself, right?
Let's get to our Friday free-for-all. This is a topic that we got on the table that has nothing to do with sports to wrap up the show. I will begin here, Joe. As we were talking yesterday about what we're going to do today, I heard the lovely voice of your wife, Susie, for the first time in about 25 years. How is it that whenever her name comes up, whenever you talk about how long you've been together, your children, your kids, your life together, I have never once on your radio program gotten credit for introducing you to your future wife? How has this story never gotten out there?
Because I forgot how it went. Tell me the story.
You don't remember this?
I met her. I think I did, when Mario had something happening with a back program at UPMC.
Yes,
a new way to inspect.
That's exactly right.
For injuries.
You and I walked over. We walked over from the Steeler facility together, through the indoor facility to what used to be now the Freddie Fu building, like the big rehab facility. That was the ante room on the back of the indoor facility now, where like the Steelers social media team works. That's all it was back then. Yeah. You and I were the only people covering it. And I knew Susie because Susie worked with my father when my father was a doctor at Pitt. And we had a little rapport because we knew each other from before. And we did the thing. We walked away. And I just remember, Benzie, how do you know her? She's beautiful, Benzie. How do you know her?
And here...
And I sort of facilitated the relationship. I said, this is my colleague, Joe Starkey from the Tribune Review. He'd like to do the story because I was going over there for the same thing. I was doing the same story with you. And then all these years later, completely forgotten about. I get no credit. I don't even get an anniversary card. I don't get a reminder. Tim, thank you for introducing us. Completely swept under the rug.
You know what? You can officiate when we renew our vows. How's that?
That would be awesome. Are you really going to do that?
No.
Oh, okay.
But if we ever did, you would definitely officiate. I forgot that part of the story. The part of the story I remember. I suppose this could count for my what's this thing called?
Trib. No, this is our Friday free-for-all.
My Friday free-for-all is the advent of email and texting. Because I'll never forget sitting at my kitchen table. What year was that, Tim? 2001, right?
2000, probably 2001. Yeah, maybe 2002. Yeah.
No, it was definitely 2001.
It was my first year. It was my first calendar year here. Yeah.
Right. And I remember going back to my apartment in Shadyside, sitting down at my computer and thinking, I'm going to ask that woman out to lunch. And here's the beautiful thing about it. I don't have to risk an in-person rejection. Email had arrived by then, right? So all I did was type up a little email that said, would you like to go to lunch with me? And then all you have to do is wait for the reply. But the moral of this story, the moral of this Trib treat, that's not a Trib treat, but I already forgot the name of the
Friday free for all,
is that texting and email has made cowards of us all, right? We become more and more cowardly with more technology. I just had to type that to her and then wait.
Well, now it's an app, Joe. Now it's just swiping left and swipe.
Right.
What if she swiped left on you? We never would be here right now.
Right. It took away all the in-person risk. You had to summon up all that courage and say, hey, just thinking about it, the embarrassment of how many women said no, right?
Well, you got to call on the phone. You had to call on the phone
or
back
call
then.
on the phone, right?
That was just as bad. What
Like
if her mom or dad answered and then she said no and hung up the phone? And you know the conversation that's going on the other line is, that boy just asked me out. I'm not interested in him.
And it was always the excuse. So many women said no in so many different ways. Like, would you like to go to lunch? You know what? Can I get back to you? I think I might have to work that day. It's all rushing back to me as I sit here right now.
It's giving you a hot flash,
embarrassing.
Yeah.
What?
It's giving you a hot flash, isn't it?
It is, man. It made cowards of us all. Technology didn't
Well, I remember because I think she did get a hold of me. She's like, the guy you walked over with asked me out. And I said that you should go out with him then. I think she was somewhere between saying yes and getting a restraining order. It was somewhere like somewhere 50, 40, 60 on the spectrum. But you won out, so good for you. I'm happy for you.
You know where our first date was for that lunch?
In Shadyside.
I'll give you some clues. A legendary spot, at least I thought it was, in Oakland, right in the center of Oakland, where all the O and everything else was, on a little side street.
Peters?
No, it no longer exists. On the other side of the street, on a side street.
There was a Mad Mex that was there. Is that where it was?
There was. This place was the Spice Island Tea House.
Oh, I don't remember that. I
Incredible.
had happy hours of that Mad Mex that was right there on top of the hill before you would go down to the south side, whatever that road is.
I love that place. And now I have to go or I'm going to get fired from my other job.
See, it went 7 minutes too long. See, that I knew this would happen.
I only had 5.
All right, Joe. Congratulations on a very successful first Beyond the Bylines.
I enjoyed it.
We'll perhaps do it again next week.
We'll see.
Don't yell at limits today.
No.
I get limits back all the time.
I'll text you to see if you're available. I won't risk the in-person rejection. See you, buddy.
We'll plan on being back next week for Beyond the Bylines with myself and Starkey, our new rookie Cub reporter here at Trib Live.